Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather. Today I'm meteorologist Al Peterlin, and this is a weather report. I'd like to talk about the weather health stresses for July 28, 2026. We keep additional graphics at tpatw.com. We maintain a storefront on Amazon. Looking at the surface map for Tuesday, we have two general areas of activity, of course, up the west, that monsoonal moisture all the way across the Four Corners and up the Rockies and the High Plains, all the way into eastern Montana. We also have a swath of unsettled weather across the south and up the eastern seaboard with two frontal systems, one stretching all the way from South Dakota to Paducah and over to Raleigh, a second, slightly cooler front stretching all the way from northern Minnesota across southern Michigan up to Buffalo. A little bit of cooler air behind that, but in any case, a lot of moisture stretching all the way from the Carolinas to New York in between those two frontal systems. Looking at our vitality index, which is a measure of the individual weather elements that can trigger some bodily impact, and you can see that with the monsoonal areas, we have some showers and thunder showers and a little bit of impact on the human body. And of course, that's the area of that so-called bubble heat. And so we have heat effect running all the way from the Rockies to the plains, and of course across the south. Another area to look at is about the Ohio Valley and into even the northern Mississippi Valley, and a lot of activity, at least up and down the eastern seaboard, in between those two fronts. We finally have a little bit of pressure change on the map for Tuesday. We have some rising pressure across eastern Iowa, across Wisconsin, across Michigan, and on up into the southernmost portions of Canada. We have falling pressure up the eastern seaboard from North Carolina, across Virginia, across Pennsylvania, Maryland, and up into upstate New York. Temperature change, of course, we are cooking the west, but you'll notice that in the middle Mississippi Valley, and this is really with that frontal system and probably some cloud cover, a little bit of falling temperatures. I don't think that's dramatic, but it would be at least some relief. Changes in dew point temperatures, again, not a lot to talk about, although as we look to the vapor pressure map, you can see that there is some falling vapor pressure or falling humidity behind those two frontal systems, especially in the more northern areas. We still have increasing dew point temperatures and vapor pressure across the extreme eastern portions of the Carolinas. However, the dew point temperatures are still 70 plus, across all of the southeast and in fact much of the central plains all the way to the middle Atlantic states. Instability is a bit less than we have had in recent past. We still have some instability with the monsoonal moisture in the west, and that's showers, thunder showers, lightning. And with the heat dome, of course, that means more fires. But we do have some significant instability here in the Ohio Valley and the upper Mississippi Valley. Always instability across Florida with showers and thunder showers there. Looking at the change in oxygen availability, we have a little bit of a migraine risk here in extreme western Washington state. We do have some migraine risk across Arizona, New Mexico into Colorado. We have a more significant area of migraine risk stretching from northern Kansas into eastern Nebraska, and then across Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, all the way up through southern Minnesota, Wisconsin, all of Michigan, picking up portions of Illinois, Indiana, northern Ohio, and again we mentioned Michigan. And then looking at asthma and arthritis stresses, we have some of that in the western Dakotas, a little bit through western Colorado, and as we get to the east with North Carolina, Virginia, and then off the coast, again, that is asthma and arthritis stresses. Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather. Your comments are appreciated, and if you hurt, tell us where you're located.